The power of love is so much that sometimes we give up a lot, especially women. We give up a lot. I don't see it as like Allah being mad at me for participating in something that isn't Muslim. And I actually hated myself for it. I'm like, oh God, I'm like a doormat. I wanted to be everything that I wasn't. When I first started charging, I had a lot of objections. I had a lot of people saying, oh, I'm going to start my own group where people can advertise for free. And it was hard because, I didn't know what I was doing. And I had people reaching their 5-year goals in like 2 years. I don't think you should compromise on what you believe in, and you don't need to. Sit down and design your life. What do you want? What do you want from a marriage? What do you want from a relationship? How do you want to be socially? How do you want to be financially? What kind of life do you envisage yourself living?
Welcome back to the Mindful Creator podcast, guys. My guest today is Zamiha Desai. Zamiha is the proud owner and creator of the popular Facebook groups Recommendation and Professional Asian. Over the last 7 years, she's managed to amass over 165,000 followers across all the groups, which is incredible. And, it's someone I've known for the last 7 years as well. So I was there like when you started this, and it's been amazing to see how the journey's progressed for you. And on top of that, since then, you've managed to launch multiple successful exhibition events that have given a platform to small businesses to help them grow their presence, their visibility, and ultimately their sales as well. Zamiha, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been incredible to see your journey over the last 7 years. I can't believe I've known you for that long as well, like from this journey. So what I want to do is I want to rewind a little bit and go to the beginning of how this all got created.
Okay.
And specifically, I want to start with, what were you even doing before the groups became a thing?
I was working for a big retailer at the head office in Milton Keynes. And I was in the project office. I was a head of reporting. So I used to run around to all the different kind of project managers and gather data and report up to the stakeholders.
Yep.
And I loved it, actually. I really loved my job. I enjoyed it so much. And then I guess recommendation happened because somebody recommended me something and I felt like I had to tell my friends. And so it was literally just a group of my friends. There's like 200 of them, Asian women. And it was a sari pleater. So nice. I just kind of introduced this sari pleater that I'd got from Amazon to the group and said, this is a game changer, because if you've grown up in the West, you may not know how to fold your own sari and do the pleats and everything. And so for me, it meant that I didn't have to go to my mum's house to put a sari on. I can do it at home in like 5 minutes.
Which is a huge benefit.
Yeah, it is. Actually, it's huge. It is a game changer. It was a big game changer for me, especially, going to weddings and places that you have to wear saris and stuff. And, I just wore the same old kind of salwar kameez every time. It gave me a little bit of freedom. And I thought there must be other stuff that is kind of Asian, that maybe people that were born in this country don't really have as much of a connection, or it doesn't come as naturally, or they might be living in remote areas. And there was lots of reasons why people felt like they needed to access modern Asian stuff. Like if I asked my mum about sari blouses, she'd take it to India or Dubai or Kenya or wherever. She'd get it made for me, and the neck would be like literally up to my kind of collarbone, and I looked like a proper granny. There was like nothing funky or trendy. And you see people wearing kind of all this like one shoulder and, backless and, peephole and all these different kinds of styles. And my mum would never do that for me. And I don't think she'd even know how to describe,
what it
was. So that kind of modern twist on like fusion clothes, and then it became like fusion cooking. And so many people started contributing their kind of Asian ideas or asking questions about how people did things at home. It's like the Auntie G network.
But that's like a great way to describe it.
Yeah, but the modern day. It was funny, actually. There was a post on Reddit last week, and it was a girl who'd been in Northwick Park Hospital, and she was looking for somebody whose mum was in the opposite bed, and she obviously took quite a shine to him, and he was Asian and about 40, and she described him, but she didn't have the kind of guts to give him her number or anything. So she asked on Reddit, and then on Reddit, a lot of people said ask on recommendation, and she came to recommendation.
No ways.
And she asked, I don't know what's happened yet. Well, I think the Auntie's network is still on it. But I hope she finds her man.
I mean, there you go. That's a whole new side business right there. It could rival, is it Seema Auntie?
Yeah. I think so. We actually do have a singles group called Connect Asian. So
there you go.
From recommendation, we do have a few offshoots.
There you go. So soon enough, there's going to be a couple of recommendation babies at some point in the future.
There's been a recommendation. There's been a few marriages. I think 5 or 6 marriages from CA.
Whoa,
definitely.
there you go.
Yeah, and I think from the network, so we have someone called Raki who's a fertility expert. I think she's helped a lot of people conceive.
That's amazing.
So I do think that whether it's in a big way or a small way, I feel like RA and PA has impacted everybody that, you know, has come to it in some way, directly or indirectly. And it could be something as big as having a baby, or, you know, people getting out of domestic abuse situations. So Seema helps people kind of navigate that journey, or it could be that they've just found a great threading lady, or a good microblading person, or, you know, something that still has a little impact on their lives. But I like to think that everybody has been touched by it one way or another.
Definitely. I completely agree. I mean, I can attest to it. I know how many connections I've made through there. We know each other because of it as well. It's huge. And I guess your network is everything. So what do you think sparked the growth and the engagement in that group over the last 7 years? Because typically what you might see in group environments is that people create a group, they then try and monetize a group as quickly as possible, and then the level of engagement in that group can die off very quickly. What do you think has been the reason for the consistent growth across all the groups? And why do you think the engagement is still so high? Because, I mean, you look at that group and it is popping every single day. There's always something going on.
I think one was about timing. I think it's finding a niche that doesn't have kind of solutions to the problems and implementing that. And there's lots of different niches, and you can go down or big. Mine is Asians. I could have gone down to just Gujaratis, or just Punjabis, or just Muslims, or just Hindus, but I don't really have that mindset myself. I think, you know, if you're brown, you're brown. Like, I don't see that many differences. You know, culturally, a lot of our, you know, our traditions and the way that we see things is pretty much the same, right? And even my late husband, he's Hindu, I'm Muslim. It doesn't make any difference to me. But I found that niche that I was kind of comfortable in, and that I actually was curious myself. So a lot of it, I feel like it wasn't there for me kind of to tell people. Like, if I see something and I use something and recommend it, you know, I will tell them, but that's not why I'm there. I was there to learn as much. And I think, you know, you have to want to gain as much as you give in a niche community like that. And I think with communities, you have to let other people have their voices. I think when people create a community and then try to monetize, it kind of becomes about them. And then it's not that they're not interesting. Lots of people have amazing value to give, but they need to be consistent. They need to show up. They need to give new value every time. And that's quite a hard thing to do, especially when you're juggling like all the other aspects of your own life. And then there's only so much people can listen to about some stuff as well. Whereas I think with recommendation and professional Asian, we've got such a big variety of topics that, you know, you can scroll through and you'll find something of interest. Whereas if you're going to a really small niche, it's always going to be the kind of more of the same. You know, so I think it's a lot of different things, but I think it did well because there was nothing kind of like it at the time. Like, my timing was really good. To be honest, it would be very hard to do the same thing now. But back then there wasn't really anything similar. There were kind of groups for like people that had come from India and settled here, but nothing for the kind of people that were born here.
Yep.
so much. And I think also your vibe is your tribe, right? I'm very much open to sharing. Like if I bought something at, you know, Primark or TK Maxx for like £6, I'll tell you. I'm not shy about sharing
Yep.
information and wanting other people to benefit from anything that I can tell them. And I think that the people in the community have taken on that very giving nature, that they're happy to advise, they're happy to tell people, you know, what they liked, what, you know, they didn't, what they found useful, how much they got something for. I think it's, you know, it's a really nice sharing, people giving their time and stuff. And I think that's really important, that people are all contributing. It's not just about me.
So that is actually quite a key statement that you said, which is, well, first of all, your vibe is your tribe. Absolutely. Right? Like, you will take on the energy of people around you. And for the group in itself to be very forthcoming, very giving with their ideas, their inspiration, things that they found discounts on, whatever the thing is, and wanting to share it, has to come from the top in some way or form. So what makes you so giving? Because I would put this out there that not everyone is. And I think it takes a very specific type of person to be someone who is freely giving without the expectation of receiving something.
Some of it I think is down to personality types, and it's weird that you asked that question, because when I was in corporate and I was doing all those like Myers-Briggs tests and all that, I was always like the green, the people pleaser, and I actually hated myself for it. I'm like, oh God, I'm like a doormat. I want to be a leader. I want to be like the blue sky thinker. I want to, you know, I wanted to be everything that I wasn't. But actually, I'm very good at people pleasing. Like I'm very, like now I don't look at it as a doormat. Now I look at it as a way to empower people. And I think if you have that mindset that you want to empower people, that you want to help them, and you know, you want to give, and whatever, it's karma, isn't it? I mean, if you give freely, you receive, you know, tenfold, I'm sure.
100%.
At
I agree
one
with
day,
that.
maybe I will.
Yeah.
But, you know, whenever it happens, it happens. But the thing is, it doesn't cost you anything to give. It's not about ego. Like if somebody looks really good in the same red lipstick that I'm wearing, what's it going to do? Like, what's the worst that can happen? They're not going to come and, you know, my daughter's not going to love somebody else more because she looks better in my red lipstick.
Yep.
You know, if somebody's cooking and I've got a great recipe, if they can cook the same thing and feed their family, like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, what am I trying to protect? I'm actually not protecting anything. Like, if somebody does something that I do, what's the worst that can happen?
And that, I love the mindset because it's a very abundant mindset, which is, if I'm giving something to someone, there's more than enough in the world to be given. So why would you hold anything back?
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't take away from you in any way or form.
No, I don't think it does. I mean, I think that if somebody can find something they love and you can make them a little bit happier, you can impact their lives, you can impact their families' lives, why would you not do that? That's such a nice thing to do.
Where do you get that mindset from? Where do you think it actually comes from?
I don't know. I think it just makes me happy when other people are happy. You know, it makes me, maybe it's a little bit of ego that, yeah, that's my idea, and they smashed it. You know, maybe there is a bit of ego in that way rather than the ego of, well, I've got this and nobody else can have it because it's mine. You know, I guess there's different ways that you can perceive your ego, and you can perceive, you know, how you impact people and what you want to do for people and how it makes you feel. And this just happens to make me feel good. It makes me feel good to know that, you know, somebody's got a great microblader or somebody's come out of a domestic abusive marriage. Like, it's good for me. Like, I like it. I don't know if it's a mindset or I'm just kind of feeding things that I like
Well,
about
I mean,
what I do.
Even that to me is a mindset, which is it's a level of self-awareness. You know what you like, you know what gives you a good feeling, so then you do more of that thing that gives you that good feeling. And you can talk about this in the ways of laws of attraction and everything else as well. But if we subscribe to the fact that everything is energy and we attract the energy that we are, well, if you're doing more of what you like and it's bringing you that feeling of joy and happiness, well, then you're going to keep attracting things that give you joy and happiness. So even that will then consistently reaffirm in your own mind that this is a good thing to do.
Mm. Well, let's hope.
Let's hope. Yeah. But even with the thing around karma, like I have my viewpoint around that, which is, you know, you do good, you receive good. But my experience on it is this, which is you do good. Like if I do good for you, I do good for you because I wanted to do good for you, not because I was expecting something in return.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do it that way and you're not attached to needing the same level of good back from that person that you help, my experience has been that you will get that help back in some way or form, but it might not be from the person that you helped. It could be from something completely left field, but that's just the energy you're putting out.
I agree. That's where it has to stop. There with no expectations. And to be honest, if you live with expectations from people, you're always going to be disappointed. And they might help you further down the line, but like you said, not in the way that you would expect it. Or that help might come from somewhere else entirely. But you're just setting yourself up if you're expecting things from people and you're doing things because you want something in return. If you want something in return, I think you need to state that I'm doing this, but this is what I want.
Yeah.
Right.
There's this quote, I can't remember who said it, and I might butcher it, but it's but it goes something along the lines of, if you want to be happy in life, remove all expectation.
Yeah, I agree.
And if no one else has said that, I'm going to claim it as my own from this point onwards because it's on camera, so we'll take it. But let's...
Give me one sec. Sorry.
No, don't worry. I'll take a little water break.
Little swig.
Little swig.
Pub's open now.
There's vodka in that bottle, right? So
Loads.
let's. I'm going to touch on one more thing around business, and then I actually want to move a bit more into the personal side of things. So, with like the journey of growing Recommendation, Professional Asian, Connect Asian, from starting off as a group with friends who were just talking about stuff that they liked to becoming a business, like when did that transition happen for you, and when did you realize that actually this is something bigger than just a group of people talking about what they like? And how did you go about making that a business that was viable for you?
So I just started spending more and more time adminning the groups. So I would drive to work in the car park, get there a bit early, like have a look at, you know, the posts and the approvals and everything, you know, coffee break, lunch break. When I got back, it was becoming like a big task. And then I spoke to a lot of people, and a lot of people said, oh, it's Facebook group, you're never going to make any money out of it. And then my husband, Sham, he came to me one day and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, people keep coming up to me at the restaurant. He used to have a restaurant. He said, oh, people keep coming up to me and saying, oh, you must be so proud of your wife. She's doing so well. And I was like, oh, it's just like this Facebook group. And, you know, I kind of didn't, to me, it was just something that was, I guess, a bit of a hobby. And then people started saying to me, oh, you know, can you let men in? You know, we want to be part of it. And there was a lot more people advertising their businesses. So I started Professional Asian about 6 months after. And I think when I started PN, I was like, okay, so people are really earning money from this. Like I could see it happening.
Yep.
And how do I go about kind of, you know, being compensated for my time that I guess I'm helping them earn money. And so that's when the kind of membership idea came in. And I didn't know this at the time. I'd never done anything in business. I'd always, you know, worked for other people. Actually, memberships, I guess I was quite early on in the whole membership thing because now it's a real thing. But yeah, so I just thought memberships. And one of the routes I could have gone down was commission. But to be honest, I was too lazy. I'm like, can you imagine, like, if there's like 20 businesses and I've got to chase them every you know, every month or every day or every week. I didn't even know how it would work to try and chase the commission. Would I trust that it, you know, they're telling me everything? Will people really tell them that we came through recommendation or professional agent? There was too many kind of questions around that, and a lot of admin. So I just thought it's a flat fee. That's the best thing to do.
Thought by that time, the amount of admin you've been doing, that's exactly the avenue you would have gone down. I'm just kidding.
So yeah, I just couldn't. I wanted something. I guess the thing with memberships, it's kind of semi-passive, as in it's recurring. You don't need to be chasing people and stuff. You've got to deliver what you promised you would deliver on. And so you kind of know what you're doing up front.
Yep.
And there's not that much change to it. So, I mean, in terms of a business model, it's a really good business model. And obviously, you know, when I first started charging, I had a lot of objections. I had a lot of people saying, oh, I'm going to start my own group where people can advertise for free. And they did just that. And it was hard because, you know, I didn't know what I was doing, and I kind of was in at the deep end, and I so believed in the value professional Asian gave. I so could see how much people were making from it. I had, you know, people reaching their 5-year goals in like 2 years because of PA. One of the builders, I think when he first started with me doing jobs at like 15-20k. Now he won't take anything less than 150k.
Wow.
Like he won't even, that's his starting point. You know, Nihao, who does the doors, I went to see his shop last year, and he said, you put me on the map. He said, I wouldn't have this premises if it wasn't for you. You literally made my business. And so I knew how much value it had, and I think I just had to really believe in that. And you know, because that's when I started talking to you as well, that I'm not a good salesperson. I hate that kind of, you know, car showroom type.
Yep.
You know, that's how I saw myself, like, smarmy, let's like sell this. And that's just not me. But I completely understood how much it could help their business.
Yeah.
Especially if they were like advertising to a niche audience, and you don't get that, or it's very hard to find that on Facebook or Instagram, is just getting that absolute niche target. And so things like Diwali, Raksha Bandhan, like the Rakis go crazy, the mithai goes crazy, it's, you know, wedding season and clothes go crazy. People make good money.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people recommend people for cakes, for photography, for dresses, for favors. Like, it's literally got everything that you would need. DJs, like, it's all there.
Yeah.
And there is really nowhere else you could go to find all of those things in one location.
Yeah, and even DJs, like, you can get really specific. Like, the Gujarati crowd like a different kind of music to like a Punjabi crowd, for example. You know, it's all a bit different. Like Muslim Mendis might want a female DJ and stuff like that. So it's like you can really like drill down, and you don't kind of have to explain to anybody because everybody understands how the community works.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the personal side, what I'd love to hear from you is your top 3 takeaways that you think is essential for people to know who are wanting to start a business or who are already in business, that you've learned from growing all the groups.
Okay, the first thing that I wish I had done or I wish I knew is not to be afraid to spend money on good tools to keep you organized. Because if you want to scale your business, you don't want to be referring to notebooks and, you know, random Excel sheets on, you know, random drives and stuff like that. You want to have one central point of the truth for all your clients, you know, what they do, who they are, whatever data you need. Just pay for it if you need to, but keep it really tight and accurate and up to date.
What's the tool that you've found most helpful?
I'm currently using Monday.
Okay, cool.
So I still need to tweak it a little bit, I think, but I wish I'd done something better from day one, to be honest.
Amazing.
So the second one, I think, is keep your business account and your personal account separate. Don't be like, if you've got to travel to a meeting, take it out of your business account. Don't like just put it on your Oyster card that comes from your, personal account. Just get in the habit early on of saying, all right, this is my business budget and it doesn't touch my personal expense budget at all. And log your receipts and keep them. And I think you can get QuickBooks for free. I think you can get some versions of Xero for very cheap or something. Again, from the beginning, just get into those good habits of logging everything that you're doing for your business, and your expenses and your incomings and outgoings, and review them every week or every month or however, but just know where you are financially.
Yeah, I think financial management and just financial education is probably one of the things that's lacking the most in school. And then you get out into the real world and you realize that actually one of the most important things is just recognizing what's coming in and what's going out and keeping a track of it.
Yeah, totally.
100%. And what's number 3?
Because you've got to understand what you can budget for and what you can afford
100%.
and stuff like that. And I don't think you should be afraid to spend money if it's going to make you money. I think you really need to think about the cost benefit of what you're doing.
Definitely.
And I guess it's just kind of have fun and enjoy. Like, don't worry about failing, and don't look at things like I failed at this. It's the lesson. You try things, they work, they don't work. To move on. You've learnt a lesson, move on. If something is working, repeat it. If something fails, and don't do it again. And just keep that little cycle going. You should always try to do new things and innovate. And I think one of the things that people might get stuck in is, the business is working really well, let's just keep chugging along the way we are, and I don't really have to do anything new. But at some point, I think you are going to have to do something new. So if you can just tweak it, it will take you in the right direction. But I think it's Stephen Bartlett says, fail fast.
Yeah.
Try something, doesn't work.
What's been your go-to method of bringing in innovation to what you do?
Actually, I'm quite reactive. So I will look at what people are suggesting and look at the way things are going and try and do something about it. And I'll probably do it quite quietly. I don't make a big deal out of it. And if it works, then I'll push it further. If it doesn't work, I'll just keep my mouth shut and forget about it. But I think, for me, being reactive has worked. And not that I don't do proactive things like Hey Gorgeous and stuff. That's kind of, a bit more proactive. But I guess little things, the things that we're introducing in the groups, things that people need, like, for example, like Instagram reviews, like peer Instagram reviews and stuff. Like, it's a different platform. So I'm happy to kind of explore it. And actually it works quite well because people's Instagram game has gone up when they get some honest feedback on it.
Yeah.
So things like that, that's reactive. Somebody wanted that. That's great. And I'm just going to carry on doing things like that. And also I kind of look at what I would like as a customer, like genuinely try and be like super objective about it. I think one of the mistakes people make is that they say, oh, I've got this, I've got that, I can do this, I can, make your body like 10 pounds slimmer in 10 days, or all this kind of like push. But actually, it's more about, well, if you were on the other side, how would you feel? What do you actually want? Do you want to be 10 pounds slimmer? Do you want to be healthier? Do you want to have more energy? Like, what, as a customer, what do you want? And kind of put yourself in the customer's shoes and think, okay, what really is giving them the maximum benefit and creating the right message for them too.
Yeah, I love that. Maximum value without trying to shove and push a sale down someone's throat, essentially. Love it. Okay. Let's go on to something personal. And, we were talking just before we started. I'm super honored that you've chosen to be here today, considering that today is the 1 year anniversary of when you had the funeral for your partner. I want to start on something before we get into that, because dealing with that kind of loss, I can't even imagine. And I'd like to dive deeper into that. But something that you shared at the beginning, which I think a lot of people might be interested in as well. You're from a Muslim background. He's from a Hindu background. How was that whole situation in trying to start and create a family and creating a life together? Because I know that for a lot of people, that's not an easy situation to be in.
No, and I mean, you have to look at it, our time of lives as well. It was both of our second marriages. I had two children from my first marriage. Um, so it wasn't, we didn't have the kind of kid complication, which I think is probably the sticking point for most interfaith couples. Um, but it didn't, like I said, it didn't matter. I have huge respect for the Hindu religion. I will, I went to Garba.
Yep.
We did the arti. I would do any pujas that I needed to when he had his business or on Diwali and stuff like that. Like I don't see it as like Allah being mad at me for participating in something that isn't Muslim. I think that I'm supporting my husband. I'm supporting what he believes in, and there's a lot actually that I do really love about the Hindu culture. It doesn't take away the fact that I'm a smiley Muslim. I'm not super religious, but I do like genuinely believe, in God, in our imams, in the way that we do things. And he respected that as well. I think he respected my community, a lot of my community. So after a funeral, we will often have like give food to people. And his restaurant was around the corner from the mosque, actually. So he often held, the bati, it's called, at Purple Flame. So there's, there was a lot of respect for both religions, and neither of us tried to convert each other. There was just an understanding that, I would go to mosque, he would go to the temple. There would be certain observances we both did for Eid or Diwali or whatever. And, during Navratri, I'd not eat meat with him.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was just like a understanding, and I think you have to kind of know where you are before committing to get married. I don't think you should compromise on what you believe in, and you don't need to. You're still individuals.
What advice do you have from your experience of people who might be in a similar situation where they're from different religious backgrounds? It doesn't even have to be Hindu or Muslim. It could be any religion and background, that want to explore a life together but are worried about family, friends, other people's opinions. Like, what, from your experience, would you say is the most important things to focus on?
What you want and what makes you happy. I think, like I said, I don't think you should compromise. I don't think, unless you genuinely believe in the other religion, I don't think you should consider converting. I think you should kind of live your life as you would. There are times that you come together. I mean, you don't work in the same place. You don't necessarily mix with the same friends. You don't need to go to the same place of worship. I think you should probably discuss, if you're going to have children, how that's going to work. I think that's probably the most important thing, how you're going to bring them up. One, other, both, let them make their own decision, whichever. There's no right or wrong, but you both have to agree and commit. And I think as far as other people and family, I mean, like, nobody lives with you. Nobody lives in your household, right? Your life is your life, and your partner becomes your family and your everything. They'll come on. I think that people will come on board eventually. If they don't, they don't. But you can't stop yourself living your life. Actually, this girl did message me on Instagram the other day, and she had that similar dilemma that she's Hindu and her Muslim boyfriend was I think he finished with her because he was worried about what God was going to do to him.
Interesting.
And I'm like, if that's how he thinks, you can't change it. I said, just leave him alone. If he misses you, he'll come back to you and he'll reconcile everything in his head. But you don't have to change yourself. But what you do now is, while you're being a bit incommunicado, sit down and design your life. What do you want? What do you want from a marriage? What do you want from a relationship? How do you want to be socially? How do you want to be financially? What kind of life do you envisage yourself living? And does it fit into it or not? because the the power of love is so much that sometimes we give up a lot, especially women. We give up a lot, and then you don't want to be like a few years down the line resenting it, because that love shifts and evolves. It doesn't go away, but it might change. And your self-love always shifts and evolves too, and you want to grow that too.
Why do you think that women will give up a lot in a relationship for love? What do you think the reason is?
Because we're stupid. I think we just we want to have a happy life, and we want to be with that person that we love, and we're not. I think because we will, and people and the guy who think we will, and then we do, then we just get caught up in that cycle of, doing. I feel it's really sad because I think women don't know how much power they have, and they don't have that self-love. I think that probably is, they want to find love in somebody else, but they never kind of find it in themselves until they're older. I think when you hit 50 and you're menopausal and you just literally think, fuck that to the whole world, then you find your self-love, then you find your power, but actually you need it in your 20s. And me and Sham had a rocky start of our relationship. And I think partly was the whole Muslim Hindu thing, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to commit. And one day I just got really sick of it. And I'm like, dude, I literally said to him, I'm a fucking queen. You can treat me like a queen or you can fuck off. Like, word for word. Is there going to be like beeps in this?
No.
Okay.
There's no beeps in this. This is good.
So, and I think that kind of shook him. And I think from that day, he knew that I meant it. And I was willing to walk. And I think every woman should be willing to walk. Don't just give empty ultimatums. And I don't think that was, I guess it was an ultimatum. I'm not really a big advocate of ultimatums, but I just think I deserve to be treated a certain way. If you don't want to do that, it's fine. I'll go. And I think he realized that, okay, I can't mess around anymore. This is it. Either I treat her right or I lose her.
I guess it comes down to two things. One is your self-awareness around what is it that you actually want, and which is why I love the advice that you gave to the person that reached out to you just a couple of days ago, which is, in this time, like, design your life. Like, what do you actually want? Because how often do we actually take the time to sit down and just ask ourselves, what do I really want? But it's an insanely powerful question that can literally unlock all the magic of life for you.
Yeah.
If you take the time to answer it.
Yeah. And we waste so much time on like dickheads that won't ever give us what we want. Like, why? Because they're just being nice to us. No, don't waste your time. Know what you want and just go for it. If somebody doesn't facilitate that, then walk.
So, did you ever give up anything in the earlier days of your relationship?
Give up anything? What, with Sham? No, I don't think. I think it's a difficult question because it's like, how do you define giving up stuff? I think the way that I worked with Sham, it really evolved over time. And so, like, he was very sick. And so that in sickness and in health, I took very seriously, and I was there for him. So because I loved him, I did kind of give up stuff to take him to the hospital to help him. But that was my duty as a wife. That wasn't me. I didn't see it as a big sacrifice. And I think when his kidney condition was diagnosed when we were engaged, and somebody did say to me, are you sure you want to go through this?
Oh, that's a tough thing to hear.
Yeah. And I do know someone that recently, her partner broke up with her because he wasn't willing to go through that with her. So they didn't actually get married. They were engaged, but they didn't get married because he wasn't willing to do the sacrifice and everything. I think you have to be very aware of what you want and what kind of person you are. And I mean, I feel really sad for her. And I would never have done that to Sham. I didn't do it to Sham. But on the other hand, maybe he designed his life and that didn't fit into it. I don't know. But yeah, it's a big decision, isn't it?
It's a huge one.
What would you do?
It's a tough one, but I think once you've made the choice, and I agree with you on this, which is if you've made the choice to be with someone, then you've made the choice to be with that person with all the ups and downs that are going to happen. You know, me and Chris have been together now for 17 and a half years. We've known each other since we're basically kids. And we've had every up and down in that time. And I'm sure there's still going to be more because we keep evolving, you keep changing. There's always something new. But it's our ability to come back to, I guess it comes to one simple question and one simple choice. Do we want to be together? The answer is yes. Great. Then what do we need to do to make this work moving forward, irrespective of what's happened?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't feel like I gave up anything as such.
Amazing.
To be honest.
Well, it comes down to what you choose to do, and that's, you were free to choose, and you made the choice that made you happy, which is all that matters. Now, unfortunately, Sham is no longer with us.
No.
And it was literally around this time last year.
Yeah, Christmas Day he passed away, 2022.
Which is just, I cannot even begin to try and understand what that would feel like. But from your perspective, how has that whole situation impacted you? Because you obviously knew that he was not well. There was a lot of stuff going on in the background, but still getting to the point of losing someone like that, how was that whole experience for you?
I mean, I knew that he wouldn't have a really, really long life, but I wasn't. He was only 44. He's
so
a bit
young.
younger than me. So yeah, I wasn't expecting it that early. I feel like he'd been in and out of hospital so much that this time I didn't realise that it would be his last time, because we're so used to him bouncing back. And so up until the doctor said, like, I thought he would be fine. And when the doctor told me it was Christmas Day at 11 o'clock and they said 24 to 48 hours, and I literally called the whole family and I'm like, come and say goodbye. And he actually went like 5 hours later.
Wow.
So it wasn't even 24 hours. I think, like I said, I do really believe in my religion and everything. And I think that faith has probably got me through everything, because I do believe that there's a heaven. I do believe that he's happier. I do believe he's in paradise. And I think I did one post and it was like, do you remember, you know, when you cook and you're like frying samosas and there's like some really perfect triangles that come out nice and brown, and then there's those tutelli fateli ones with the edges,
the ones that like the ones that split in the middle, and like all the potatoes come out into the oil.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And it's like I would always give the nice ones to him and eat the crap looking ones myself. And I think that's
true love.
Kind of,
that's what that is.
And I think this is kind of on a celestial level. I think, you know, we're all going to paradise. He's got there first. He's got his perfect triangle samosas. I'm here still shoveling the shit ones into my mouth, but you know, I'll join him one day. And I think that was, for me, just, he's got the best. You know, he's in his paradise. He's free. He's out of pain. I don't know if you know, but he was a double amputee.
Yeah.
You know, he went through the mill in this life. He really struggled and he never showed it. He was determined and fierce and like pretty damn amazing. But it hurt. Like, it hurt physically, mentally. He went through a lot. And so I think, you know, if he can run, if he can be free, if he's got his kidneys and he's maybe got his hair, I don't know, whatever is making him happy,
yeah,
you know, then that's enough for me. Like, good on him. I'll be there soon. Who knows when? Might be, it might be years, but we're all gonna end up there.
Yeah, the only thing certain in life is death.
And taxes.
And taxes.
Yes.
Unless you're moving to the Middle East, in which case you might have a slight leeway there. What faith is, I think, from what you were just saying, probably one of the most important things that helped you get through that period. And I guess my question for you is, do you ever get past that period? Because people always go, oh, people have different experiences and different opinions on this for sure. But do you think that there's ever a point where you get past what happened, or is it just something that you've now learnt to live with and it's not really something that you ever get past?
No, I don't think you ever get past it. I think when somebody's so massive in your life, they're always going to be there. They're always going to be in your mind. They're always going to be in your thoughts. And there's things all around all the time that are going to remind you of them. And I think, you don't have to be in pain about that. I think you can just be like, I'm so glad I had that experience with them. The way I look at it is, rather than why was he taken from me, why was he given to me in the first place? And would I rather have not had him at all? Or am I grateful for those, 10 years that we were together? And in those 10 years, he gave me so much, I'm hoping it will last me for a lifetime. I wouldn't have this business if it wasn't for him. I wouldn't have my outlook on life if it wasn't for him. There's so many things that he taught me, and so much I admire him for. I'm very proud of my husband, and I'm actually very proud of myself because I was a freaking amazing wife, right? And I can live very happily knowing that this was our time. This was what God has given to us. And I used it well. I used it wisely. I was, there for him when he needed me, as he was for me. And, he set me up to carry on whatever legacy I'm supposed to build. And his job was done, and that's fine. So, and I don't ever want him to go away. Like, in the same way that, your parents or your, uncles, aunties, siblings, kids, sadly, like, you don't want them to go away. You always want them to be, they're part of your DNA now.
What was the biggest lesson that he taught you in the time that you knew him?
Oh God. God, there's so many. I think he taught me how to keep my past in my past. This people pleasing element of me is not always great. And so kind of with people that had wronged me, or with ex-boyfriends, for example, it was always let's just keep it amicable, and it's just easier that way. And he's like, why? It's like your relationship with them is done, move on. And I was like, okay. But he's right. There are certain people do come in and out of your life, and we spend so much energy trying to kind of make peace and make things right, and appease situations. And why? What for? What's the end result? Nothing. You're just wasting your energy. It's better off using it to move forward in your life and make new friends and be surrounded with people that are better than you, really, that you aspire to be, rather than wasting your time on people that they were part of your life and that time's over.
I love that, because it's literally the anti-people pleaser.
Yeah, it is.
And it proves that you can be well aware of how you might be in a default responsive rate to someone where people pleasing takes over, but because you're aware of it, and then you take a lesson like that from your husband, that's incredible, because now I'm in my people pleaser mode. I'm trying to use up all this energy to make someone else happy, but at the expense of my own.
Yeah.
And that's just not a place you want to be in.
No.
Okay. Last two questions.
Okay.
And I have a tradition to finish off with 2 questions for every guest. Okay. First one is, what book or movie has had the biggest impact on you that has either completely changed your life or created a big shift in your life for you? And why?
I think the book that just spoke to me volumes was Celestine Prophecy. And I think that's because nothing happens by coincidence, although it feels like a coincidence in that book. And I think, like, it kind of stopped me getting irritated with stuff. For example, you know, you're in a hurry and you get a whole load of red lights and it's annoying and you're late. But I just think, well, you know, maybe that red light is stopping an accident further down the line. You know, your wheel comes off, you know, you get a puncture or whatever. It's better than a wheel coming off like in the middle of the motorway and like losing control of your car. Like, there's so many, you don't know what the universe has planned for you. So I think just go with it. You know, there's no point in me getting annoyed over things that have happened. And you know, it's just the way to, maybe it's just the universe's way of like saying, okay, so instead of this route, I've taken you down this route, and that's fine. So I think it's just, let me have a lot of trust, and whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. And there's only so much you can control. Like, you can control yourself, you can control what comes out of your mouth, you can control your actions, your habits. There's a lot of stuff you can control. And we don't control ourselves. We spend a lot of time speculating and, you know, wondering and trying to do things about things that we can't control at all. So just let that go. Whatever you can't control, allow it. Just focus on yourself.
What was the name of the book again?
Celestine Prophecy.
I'm definitely adding that to my list. Do you?
It's a really easy read, actually. It's like a story. I like those kind of books that are like stories and that aren't too heavy.
I love it because one of my philosophies of life is nothing happens by accident. So it could be good stuff, it could be bad stuff, but nothing happens by accident. And this sounds like it's on the same.
Oh yeah, you're going to be phoning me going, damn.
Yeah. Off the back of that book and from what you just shared, do you believe in destiny?
Yeah.
And what's your understanding of destiny?
I don't overthink it. Just whatever's supposed to happen to me. My journey is mapped out. Like I said, there are probably things that I can control that will change, you know, the course slightly, or the trajectory slightly. But ultimately, I think the big things that happen to me are predestined, not only for me, but for them. It was, I think Sham's life, there was nothing anybody could have done. If that's his date to go to heaven, that's his date. You know, same with anybody in life, you know. So just go with it, you know. I can't, like I said, I don't overthink anything.
Yeah.
Just live in the moment and be happy.
I love that. Last question. If you could go back in time to your younger self, and you're only allowed to go back to one point in time and you're allowed to say or give one piece of advice, what age would you go back to and what would you say?
I'd probably go back to 16 and I'd probably just give myself a slap. Just say, don't be so stupid. And I think I had taken a lot of stuff for granted that I shouldn't have. It's just about myself. Like, I coasted through my GCSEs. I did fine. I didn't do any work. You know, my parents were very comfortable. I didn't really have to do anything. Like, I had a very comfortable life. And I think I took a lot of that for granted. And I think I would probably maybe have been a bit more successful a bit sooner, or been in a bit of a different place if I just like slapped myself up a little bit and said, you need to work. It doesn't always come this easy. And I think because of that, I didn't really apply myself during my A-levels, during, you know, my university. I didn't actually do as much as I could, and I didn't form kind of good habits and a good mindset. I was just like, yeah, let's party and everything will come. And I wish I hadn't have done that. So yeah, I would have just been like, don't take stuff for granted and just look at what you've got and work hard. Because working hard, actually, you know what? It's not that hard. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can sit for like 6 hours watching, Netflix back to back. Why can't you spend 2 hours doing something productive?
I love what you said, which is it's not always going to be this easy. And I think that we all have moments in our life where there's easy periods, but then there's difficult periods that follow, and then there's easy periods again. And it's always remembering that it's not always going to be easy. And if that's the case, then you might as well be consistent in the work, because it goes back to that quote as well, which I'm sure I'm going to butcher again, but you can do hard work now for an easy life later, or you can have an easy life now, but you're going to have to work damn hard later.
Yeah.
And if you've got the time and the energy and the capacity to do the hard work now, then make that the priority.
Yeah, but I think it's also, for me, I think it was more than that. I think it was literally my mindset for so many years. Like, I literally thought, I can just get away with doing bare minimum, I'll be all right. And I shouldn't have thought like that. I mean, I did do bare minimum and I was all right. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I didn't have a difficult life. But I just think that it would have been so much better if I'd just put it up a notch.
What was the point in your life where that notch got clicked over, where you were like, do you know what? Now it's time for me to kick it up again.
I think when I got divorced, when I had like a really difficult marriage, my first marriage, and I was like, hang on a minute, everything's been so easy so far. Why is it so hard now? And I think a lot of it, I think maybe, I don't know. You don't know what you would have done differently or not, but maybe things would have been a bit different if I'd believed in myself a little bit more, if I was a bit stronger. Again, you learn things from everything in life. And while I didn't have a good marriage, there's no point in me saying I wish I didn't get married, because I've got 2 beautiful children. And I learned a lot about myself, and what you learn about yourself, you take forward. And I think, I managed to find that power in that marriage. At the end, in the end, I did. But it doesn't matter that it's in the end. It matters that I found it.
Exactly.
And that helped me move on, definitely.
Amazing.
And that gave me the strength to say to Sham, I'm a queen.
Which led to the 10 amazing years you guys had together as well. Zamiha, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Truly honoured that you're here today on the anniversary of his funeral as well. And I'd just like to finish off by saying I have no doubt that he's looking down, super proud of everything that you've done, for sure.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.